Freaka TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
Thanks for waiting, everybody. We're back. We're hyped.
Yeah,
that was a crazy match.
What a way to kick off the final season of GSL this year with Maru versus Scarlett, and Scarlett winning 2-0.
This is like as crazy as it could have been. See, guys, the writer's strike is over. This is really like this is like WWE. These are all actors, okay? These are all professional actors that play the game and make the games happen, all right? It's not real because this is too good to be true, all right? This is just great writing. No, seriously, Scarlett beats Maru. What? What is going on? We got a new set of maps. We've got a new patch. We're having crazy results. Let's see what happens with this next one. We've got Creator versus Solar. What do you think about this, State?
I think this is a pretty even match, I gotta say. I think that most people might be writing off Creator as too much of an underdog in this situation, but PVZ is his best matchup. He's a really brainy player. He's very good at killing Zergs. And Solar, he also plays a very aggressive play style, but I feel like that kind of plays to Creator's strengths. You know, in PVZ, his control, it's rock solid. He's usually very stable. He doesn't fall apart the same way that a lot of other Protoss do to counterattack, sort of multi-prong attacks. He's very on top of his multitasking. I think this is going to be really a bloodbath. I would be surprised if this did not go to Game 3.
I think you're probably right. Solar's been looking very good lately. Oh, I thought he was flexing for a second. I was like, what is happening?
This really is WWE.
Yeah, right. He's holding his arms up. I'm like, is that the globe on his back? Is he Atlas?
Man, look at that. Nothing but top 8s and top 4s.
Yeah.
My goodness.
But he wants to get those top 1s.
He does.
He needs it.
But he keeps facing Maru.
Yeah. Well, here's another point. If he can beat Creator here, he could face off against Scarlett. I think he's got a good shot against Scarlett. I know that Scarlett just beat Maru, but I think most pro gamers would prefer to play Scarlett still over Maru.
Yeah. Although ZVZ is a kind of crazy beast to really wrap your head around, but Solar, one of the best in the business at doing it. Before we get there, it's got to be a PVZ to start things off. Creator and Solar, once again. Map 1 going to be on Alcyone, then we'll go to Hecate. Site Delta for map number 3 should we get there. Actually, very surprised that Creator banned Raduset Station. I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly. It's supposed to be like some Scandinavian.
Well, you even said map going right. I thought that map was called Aclone Ellie.
I think it's like from Latin or something, right? It was like a Greek mythological character, Alcyone. I don't know, man. I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Could be, actually. All right, well, let's just say that's it. Let's just go with that. Guys, second best of 3 already underway here. Again, the winner faces Scarlett, the loser faces Maru. Let's go.
Club NV Creator. Onside, Solar.
I did notice that the map pool this season probably has the most difficult names of all the map pools in StarCraft 2 history. There's been a lot of conversation on streams and in tournaments how to pronounce these.
It's not good for my 7th grade reading level, I'll tell you that much, man.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was surprised, actually, that so many European streamers were struggling with Equilibrium, which to me is a native English speaker that went through high school in the United States. You know, it's just something that we go through a lot. But
absolutely,
all these Europeans, man, they gotta get on the English-speaking meta.
Yeah, or they got to start naming their maps European names, and then they're gonna throw us off.
Well, that's why we have Raduset Station, which sort of always makes fun of me. Get ready to meet your creator.
That's
I love that
nice sign.
That one was also printed out, wasn't it?
That was excellent. It was very. The sign meta is up right now. So, look, whenever we talk about Creator, we got to talk about the fact that this guy is a very emotional player. I get it. I respect it. I was actually, and my brother too, were kind of like Creator. We played tournaments. We would get very emotional when we would win or lose. You know, I would say overall, if you look at the whole landscape of pros, I think it's generally better to detach yourself than to you know, let your emotions run you in these events. But I'm looking in these not just this series, but actually all the series he plays in. Is he going to make any blunder or mistake? And if so, how is he going to react? Because we can literally look at his cam and see.
Yeah, I feel like Creator, when he's on point, when he's collecting himself, when he's winning games, and he has some momentum behind him, is one of the best Protoss players in the world, just bar none. Certainly in Korea, he's one of the best. But as you said, we've seen him here in the studio. He gets tilted when he loses sometimes, especially if he loses in kind of an embarrassing way. If he doesn't have a Zealot in the wall in and Ling's Flood in, and that just unravels his entire game plan.
The Warp Prism, we've seen him occasionally just drop the Warp Prism out of nowhere. I'm not saying it will happen. And here's the thing, when he's on, he seems to be able to beat anybody as well.
Yeah.
I think Solar's a good, test for where exactly Creator's at.
Especially considering that Solar is one of those players that I feel like more so than others is going to try and test you and skill check you with small things like, is your Adept in the wall, and is it on hold position? Is it stop command?
Right.
Can I get in there? Can I mess up your mineral lines and get some harassment in? And if Creator passes all those skill checks and he's feeling good about his play, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to win this series. But really, the manner in which these games unfold is going to be a critical part in determining not just his success in this best of 3, but in the entire group.
And, the chaos that was created in the first best of 3 has, in some ways, made an opportunity for these two. If they can come out on top, maybe they can squeak through with a win versus Scarlett, and they don't even have to play Maru. It's less about Scarlett and more about just avoiding Maru entirely in a bracket.
A good number of Lings being made, but Creator playing quite safe, went for that 3rd Adept instead of just 2, so he shouldn't take any damage back at home. And actually, this Oracle coming in, there's no Spore Crawler, there's only 1 Queen. Solar caught a little bit off guard there. Oftentimes, the first Oracle only able to get 2, maybe 3 drones, but there it gets idle time and a 4th. A great pickup for Creator, and interestingly, going into Void Ray and then a 2nd Oracle. So I wonder if this Void Ray is just because he's suspecting that Solar on this map is going to have a couple stray Overlords that he can pick off and create some hiccups in the Zerg build, or if he's going to try and do something a little bit more sneaky behind this 3rd base that he does not want to get scouted.
Well, the Oracle's taking a lot of damage. He's got to be careful. You're getting out of range of where you can recover those hit points. The shields are all gone. Creator's playing a pretty quiet game up here. He's got another Oracle out here. He's just playing a little bit of defense while he gets his 3rd base up. And we don't really see much here from Solar just yet. We already mentioned earlier, this is a pretty big map, and so, just having that extra distance to travel does give your opponent a lot of time to try to prep and prepare to deny whatever kind of attack you're doing. So for now, it seems like the route Creator's taking is just to harass here and there with these Oracles.
Yeah, it seems like he really just wants to gather some intelligence and pick off a couple of drones here and there. Just flies in, gets the guys on the extractor, and then flies out. Perfect execution. Should be able to see the lair timing with that as well, if I'm not mistaken. And the stasis coming in. Some damage on the Oracle,
yeah.
But I mean, you got to fish for these things sometimes, get some value out of these units.
Yeah, so far not much has been able to be accomplished just yet. The Lings are still roaming here for Solar. He's going to come in, he sees the battery, he sees the Oracle, he backs off. Back over in the tech line of things, we've got the Robo coming, Templar Archives, as we're seeing all those building blocks get set up here for Creator to try to move out. Now, Creator's generally pretty good at this phase of the game, and then it eventually comes with a pretty robust push, which we're going to see shortly here. Unless he actually stays turtling and goes for a 4th base, but I feel like if memory serves me right, he's normally going for that. This is pretty big.
Yeah, this is a tough moment right now for Creator. He wasn't completely walled in there at the natural expansion, so these Lings are going to get in. Luckily, there isn't too much else happening on the map, so it should only be a handful of probes that go down. And Solar also didn't gather too much critical intel, but you never want to have these kind of road bumps as a Protoss player in your build. You kind of want to play this perfect game where you don't take any damage, you just try to build up to this one big moment, whether it's you going for a late game opportunity or going for a timing attack. And anytime Lings get into your main base like that one, I mean, Solar came in, he didn't see a lot of gateways, everything looked relatively standard, and you can feel a little bit more confident now knowing that some of the fog of war has been lifted.
Well, Solar continuing to just develop now. That push should be coming soon. I think we have the Warp Prism out. I'm sorry, where is the Warp Prism? Is it on the map? Is it that blue blip in the middle that's coming down? It must be.
I think it is. But also, I'm not sure there's a push coming. We actually have a Robotics Bay and a second Stargate in production for Creator, and he has begun Phoenix production, which frankly really bewilders me. This is not something I was expecting.
Yeah, he's feigning pressure. I was mentioning earlier he does a lot of pushes on 3 bases. And I guess the idea was he wanted to make it look like he was going to do that again and instead expand up here in this 4th base. But look, I mean, these Zerglings are here. You can really feel the travel time that Protoss has to go through by just watching the mini-map and seeing how long it takes them to get up here. So the 4th base isn't denied, but I would imagine this would prompt a 5th. Oh, I'm sorry, there's actually already a 5th base here, right over there on the gold. It's a bit of an economic tit for tat so far.
Yeah, Creator's doing a very good job of keeping pace here with Solar. And oh, this is a big scout coming in. Solar will see that a Phoenix was in production. He might not know it's a fake, but that's kind of an odd thing to fake at this moment of the game, right? It's a curious thing. He's pulling Phoenixes behind the natural expansion. Disruptors are in production, so on paper he should be relatively safe against this. And oh, Solar, I think he's going for a Queen Walk. Or at least I was suspecting it for a moment with those queens on the watchtower. Maybe not.
Okay, another pick up here. Catches that, gets the kill.
I was going to say, it's like the latest queen walk of all time, like 8 minutes and 30 seconds, but I guess Solar just really wants to spread this creep. Dead on in the center.
So yeah, this is a very different game because we're going to go deep into macro territory. And I'm curious, especially on this map with how just gargantuan it is, how exactly Protoss is going to fare. I mean, what do you think? I mean, from your perspective, State, does this seem like it's going to be doable here for Creator?
I think it all depends on how he's able to hold off against his attack. Solar right now is on 87 drones. That's a good stasis trap to start things off. But that first disruptor, I mean, the disruptor is really not getting big connections there, and one of them certainly going to go down to the Ling. So if Creator is able to stabilize, keep in mind, his ground army is not that great. All he really has at his disposal right now are these Phoenixes being able to pick up these Ravagers and pick them off. That's a big thing here for Creator. And Solar not really able to manifest the damage that he was trying to go for. So all things looking quite good for a Protoss player. I mean, as long as he's able to hold on and not take too much damage against harassment and attacks like this one, I think he's gunning for a pretty good late game. But again, the ground army, Tasteless, it's not very strong.
Yeah, and he's in a position now where I think he can actually separate the 3rd base from the 4th and the 5th. Well, hold on, that disruptor shot was insane. Very satisfying one to see happen. The Zealots are going to spill down here. This is a bit of a distraction, but it looks like Solar can clean it up.
Yeah, these Zealots attacks coming in on both the natural and the 3rd base here for Solar took a lot of the pressure off Creator's own expansions, and now he's actually eclipsing the Zerg in supply. A Greater Spire's on the way, but let's not forget, Creator, he's already on 2 Stargates. He has a good number of Phoenix out, and the Fleet Beacon already in production. We have carriers starting up there at those Stargates, and so I'm looking at this on paper, and Solar, his economy, it's not significantly better than Creator's. They're basically equal, and tech-wise, Protoss, they're certainly keeping pace with the Zerg, and Solar just continues to invest in this army that is not going to scale well into the late game. It's Ravagers, it's Banelings. We don't have any Vipers on the field. The Greater Spire is going to pop, but I don't think we have any Corruptors. There's not much of a bank. And look at the units lost tab. 4.6k resources in the favor of the Protoss right now.
Am I wrong in that the Zerg doesn't know about the 5th? Did he actually just not go over there? I think he might not see that, because it seems like that's free for the taking.
And he might not actually know. I'm thinking back to when Solar was trying to attack the 4th base there for Creator, and certainly you would imagine that it would have taken that 5th Nexus down. And you might be right.
So I guess that's going to go uncontested then. I mean, Protoss has enough now to defend this. The Banes are going to come forward here, but an Archon's over here. They're going to have to run from that.
Oh, this is like Baneling's worst nightmare. Yeah. Just surrounded by Archons with shield batteries.
That's the closest a Baneling can ever get to experience being hit by a Baneling, is being hit by an Archon.
All right, well, Solar is max. He's making some Corruptors, but no free supply to get Broodlords out on the field. And I gotta feel like Creator, although these Archons are, I gotta say, probably some mistake with control groups there as Creator sends them across the map. But oh man, even the Corruptors getting taken out here. Kind of a funky trade. A Void Ray and 4 or 5 Phoenixes going toe to toe with Corruptors over there in the corner. But I'm looking at this, and I don't think Solar, unless he has a big catch, like maybe on these Disruptors, is going to get too much done. But even the Disruptor hits coming through, they're not that bad. I feel like Creator is going to do a good job of holding on if he's just able to bring his forces forward. I mean, that's another good hit.
Yeah, I got to say, Creator's really carved out his little corner of the map. Now, if the game continues to develop, I do want to point out there's a really wide area that nobody's covering here on the far right. And it does seem like that's going to be more accessible for the Zerg. Maybe the carriers could poke out and deny some of the more northern expansions, but I just, whenever I get this far along enough in a game, I start to count all the available bases and who can go where and what's seizable and what's defendable and what's really not, or ambiguous even.
Tases, I don't think that Solar had a good idea that Creator was banking this many carriers until that moment. Because he just made a ton of Brood Lords, and his army on the ground right now, he has 2 Corruptors. He's making 6 more. There's no Hydras. I don't think there are very many Queens. Only 6. So the anti-air is really dismal right now for Solar. The bank is also lackluster, and the army that he has on the ground simply does not trade well with Sky Toss. It doesn't shoot up.
No.
He just has those Corruptors. But there's 8 carriers on the field.
Yeah, and he's going to have to trade this out now.
He has to, but how is he going to remax? Look at the gas bank. It's only 200.
Yeah, it's actually really bad. Now, I think he can send these Brood Lords up and try to start to pelt the base that is the 5th base, the one I thought should have been attacked, excuse me, earlier. And maybe then he can send his Lings up over to the triangle base.
I mean,
right there?
It's probably his best bet, but look at the defensive setup. 2 Archons to deal with the Zerglings, 2 Disruptors with shield batteries to deal with any Roaches and Ravagers that come in. Those are really the only tools that Solar has at his disposal, besides the Corruptors and the Broods, and I'm just not seeing a way that Solar is going to be able to find any valuable trades with the army that he's assembled. And I think he's doing a smart thing right now. He's biding his time. He's trying to build up a little bit of a bank before he eventually trades out, because this next trade, unless something absolutely insane happens, the next trade is not going to be good for Solar. It's probably going to go very badly for him with the army that he's assembled. He has to try to find some way to mitigate losses and trade in the best way possible, and then remax on an army that can deal with what Creator's assembled. And to do that, he needs time. But now maxed with pretty significant upgrades and a very formidable force, Creator is moving across the map. I think he has that killer instinct, and I do not see a way that Solar is going to be able to deal with this very effectively. Only 1 Viper instantly gets feedback. The Storms as well are huge. Archons, 2 of them do get taken out, but let's not forget the Disruptors on the ground are going to be very capable of dealing with the ground army that Solar has assembled. Stasis Wards also dropping those TIE Templar. They still have more energy. 11 carriers on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's got these 11 carriers, but one thing about carriers is it's kind of like the Brood Lord phenomenon. I guess we're seeing this both of these two fighting each other now, but neither of these units can go too far too quickly, so the Brood Lords are going to go down. That much is clear.
I feel like this is just checkmate.
Yeah, I think you might be right, especially with, look at the minerals. What is it, 100 minerals now? 152, and actually the 5th base, all the bases stay alive. Creator did it.
That was an immaculate
That was
PVZ.
crazy, yeah.
Solar that entire game was trying to build an army to eventually attack into the Protoss and try to trade well. He was making Ravagers, Roaches, Lings, and Banelings. And Creator walked a very thin line of investing a minimal amount of resources into his ground army. He just made batteries, he made some cannons, he had a small number of Archons, a small number of Disruptors. Those 4 Phoenix, I was kind of scratching my head with them, but they did a great job of really kind of stymieing the push from Zerg. They were able to lift Ravagers and take a lot of the firing power away from that army. And Solar just never, over the entire course of that game, was able to find an opportunity to trade the mid-game army he assembled cost-effectively. And Creator had so much time on his own side that he was able to build an army that literally was checkmate. Solar had no chance with the economy he had set up. And that's about as textbook as a late-game PvZ gets. I don't think you're ever going to find a late-game PvZ that clean against a player of Solar's caliber. That was just exceptional from Creator.
It's a funny way to lose, right? You're suddenly, you've reached the finish line as far as supply goes, but you have the wrong kind of army. And now what are you going to do with it? Because it's going to get completely smashed, and you're going to be sent into a very bad direction. Guys, we're ready to go to game 2. Let's do this.
Club NV Creator. Onside, Solar.
Creator with an insta scout, able to force Solar to take the triangle third as a base. Canada loves GSL. GSL loves Canada too.
Back. We're gonna have to ask each other out. We're gonna have to start dating that whole nation.
It's a love affair.
So I gotta remind everybody, Creator actually has maybe the most builds as Protoss, I think.
Certainly in PBZ, I feel like
in
he
PBZ,
does.
he has a lot. So just bear in mind that game 1 is never necessarily indicative of what game 2 is going to look like. I mean, he'll do a long macro carrier tech game like that, and then he might just go into like a weird 2-base timing of, you know, whatever the tons of different 2-base timing attacks there are.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of range, especially in PBZ, which has been his best matchup, in my opinion, by far for quite a long time. It just seems like he really has a good read on how to move his army across the map to kind of feign a pressure against the Zerg, force some units out that aren't going to scale well against the defenses he assembles back at home, and just navigate a macro game effectively that way, the same way he did in game 1. And then, just as you said, he's absolutely capable of mixing it up with timing attacks, with cheeses over the course of the series. And I feel like that's kind of what you need to do to be a solid Protoss player. We're kind of past the stage where you can just be like Rain was way back in the day and just be solid on defense and win every game in that manner. I think to succeed in the current state of StarCraft 2 as a Protoss player at this level, you need to be able to mix it up. You have to be capable of the macro game, you have to be capable of the cheese, you got to be the complete package. And certainly in this matchup, Creator, he feels like he's more than halfway there.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting point you made. I think that Protoss, 100% always has to have a range of plays, because with maybe the exception of, like you said, Rain, or I guess Stats is another guy that comes to mind, there's few players that just play conservative reaction based play. A lot of times it's trying to, you know, kind of pull the rug out from under your opponent to surprise them, to remain unpredictable, and still have that solid foundation. Where, you know, I think Zerg very often can lean on that reaction-based play just because of the way the race operates. You're always expanding ahead. You have Overlords and Zerglings and everything else to kind of scout and spot. But then again, the very best Zergs in the world are also the ones that will pull out a cheese, right?
Yeah, but look at what we got right now from Creator Tasteless. An extremely quick
Yep. There we go.
Robo-Bay.
So this is what I was talking about. Some kind of a 2-base build.
Oh, this is so cool. I haven't seen a 2-base Robo-Bay opening against Zerg.
Is this
I
just
don't know
going to be
how
Disruptor?
long. Is it Disruptor? Is it Speed Colossus drop? That is something we have seen in the past, but I feel like it's been a minute.
I think it would be Disruptor, maybe into... I feel like I'm gambling now. I feel like I'm trying to guess this. I'm like,
it's very hard to make an informed decision because this is just so far out there. We'll have to wait and see what Creator decides to build. I think both Disruptors and Colossi are good options, and it's going to be Speed Prism.
Yeah, I've seen this build a couple times, and this is...
oh, and it's against Roaches.
Oh,
38
man.
drones. The Roach Warren goes down. Lings are in production. Now, once those 2 Overlords pop, I'm very curious to see what the units coming out from Solar are going to be. And I'm also wondering how much Creator is going to invest into this pressure. Now, this looks, from the Zerg's perspective, it was, I think, Adept Stalker into this Warp Prism timing with 4 Adepts moving across the map. This looks like a Glaives timing, a Glaives all-in. But it's actually a Disruptor.
So there's a lot of shadows and mirrors here. Oh, we saw for a split second. I don't know that he actually saw it.
He saw the Robo-Bay for sure.
Yeah. I guess actually, what am I saying? If you see the disruptor, or you even see the robot, you know what's coming. So he's going to grab it. But look, I mean, already the tech is not, you know, what you want right now. This is all going to build up to this one moment. There is a Colossus being made here to basically merge up with this army later on. The Warp Prism is inbound.
And I love that feint from Creator, just making it look like it's going to be an adept timing with Glaives. Now, these should be able to get this one queen right there. Yep, they double up. Some nice damage coming in. But going back to that Glaives feint, that really set the economy of Solar behind, because as Zerg, it's very difficult to defend against a timing like that one unless your drone count is quite low. And so Solar, for a good portion of this game, was actually behind Creator in terms of worker supply. And now Creator behind this Colossus, just going to take a base. Defense is well set up. I love these two sentries with the army here at the third. The Colossus looks like it's from one of those, what do you call it? Before the campaign where they showcase the Colossus, like, it's like, you can walk up the cliffs.
I know. I remember all the people going, whoa.
It's like actually very good in this moment to be able to synergize right there and go down into the triangle.
Shimmy down that cliff with its long legs, State.
Yeah.
The Disruptors haven't done that much, but I guess it's fine if you're going to take a third base. It's actually done a decent amount. I'm sorry, 10 Lings, a drone, and Overlord.
No units lost for Creator. I think he canceled one building, and that was it.
Yeah.
So a perfect game so far from our Korean Protoss. I'm loving this.
When I saw Creator do this build before, he would basically do a 2-base all-in, but this is pretty cool because he actually kind of feigns the all-in too. And then he goes for a third base, and he's actually doing pretty good. Oh!
Wow! 5 drones going down. I love this feigning pressure again. He's moving across the map with a very small number of units. And look at this defense back at home. He might lose a couple of probes here on the transfer, but Creator doing an excellent job moving across the map. He just cleared, if I'm not mistaken, a ton of creep. And it feels like he just has complete information on what Zerg is doing. Now he has to be careful not to overextend these Lings. They are going to go for the surround. They should be able to get at least those sentries. Where's the Prism during all of this, I wonder?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it on the mini-map, actually. Oh, there it is. It's literally behind the army.
Oh, Ling's trying to get a surround right now on the Colossus. They might be able to take it down. Oh, the battery! Overcharge comes in at the clutch moment. Disruptor drops out of the Warp Prism, able to get 2 more Ravagers and maybe even a handful of Lings. So, bit of tit for tat there, but an important save by Creator, walking back just barely into range of that shield battery. 64 probes to 70 drones right now, so economy's quite even, and what an interesting start to this game.
This is pretty wild, man. Well, I gotta say, Creator's playing out of his mind. The 4th base is already on the way.
Man, the confidence for him to maneuver across the map with this small army, too.
Yeah, well, he's gonna draw this in over here. He could probably unload these Disruptors down at the bottom. Now, you know that Solar sees that base. He's gotta be careful. He's gonna try to actually loop back up into the main. He could just go for these queens.
Gonna go for drones. Gets 1. Oh, might get a couple more.
Yeah, not bad. He picks up both.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, think about 2 Oracles coming in. You're happy anytime they walk in and get a trade with 3 drones, so kind of the same thing going on here for Creator. It's like he's playing a Stargate opener without a Stargate in terms of harassment. The Disruptor drops have been top-notch. Behind it now, macroing up, and just want to take a step back and appreciate how different it is that we got to this macro situation in Game 2 versus Game 1.
Yeah.
And it just really shows the range that Creator is bringing to the table here, coming into this group with 2 Zergs. Oh, even capturing the drones on the transfer.
That was, I don't know if he even knew those drones were coming up or if he was just looking for some damage and he goes, oh, drones, just goes in and hits it.
I think he's just in the zone, man.
Look at this unit that Zerg need to infest.
You got a neural parasite.
I know, neural parasite that thing.
Maybe it has a secret ability, who knows? Those things always scare me. Sometimes they get in the middle of the fight, like between the units, and they just start absolutely wigging out. They start spinning, doing 2 and 360s. Yeah, exactly. I hope we see it.
Okay, so it's been a pretty tumultuous game here for Solar. I wouldn't say he's in a bad spot, though. He is now maxed out. He is almost matched Protoss. I think he has 1 more base than the Protoss does, but I mean, not ideal, right?
I would say it's relatively even. I think what really matters is the exchange that's going to happen before the hive timing, because Solar needs to free up some supply to start pumping out Vipers to deal with these high-tech Robobait units. And that Vile, it's so good coming into the main base, these Lings, and the Banelings! Also at the fourth, a ton of damage being dealt right now to Creator. 7 probes already going down. Zealot's getting warped into the main base, should eventually be able to clean up these Lings. With DT, certainly they will. But some nice damage there from Solar. He needed to find some kind of cost-efficient trade, and while the Disruptor shot on those Ravagers was good, I think you're going to be happy taking down 9 probes and freeing up some supply to get, I believe, Vipers on the field, although I haven't seen any pop just yet. The Hive is done. Okay. I don't think he made any Vipers.
Yeah, well, I mean, this push is coming now. It's going to be now or never. By the way, the Disruptor shots have been so good. Some of the best Disruptor play we've seen from Creator. Is he going to commit here?
I feel like he should.
Yeah, I feel like he should, but, there's a lot of Bane's morphing. It's kind of like, do you wait or do you just go for it? Oh. Another great connection. Launches that Ravager into the air.
Solar coming in for the surround for the bottom left and the top right. The Banelings coming in, looking for the big connections on the Stalkers, and they absolutely run through them. Almost every Stalker cleaned up.
But
on the bottom right side, the Archons and the Colossus doing so much work.
I mean, keeping the Archons in the back was genius. It was able to deal with so many more Banes, and now Creator's going to move through. Now, it's always a tough call. How far can you go with a push like this? This one looks really good from Creator. He even had the hallucinated Archon over there in the front. We've got drones on the run down here. There's not a hatchery for them to go mine from in the south. This hatchery is going to fall. Another warp in over here. Some DTs for Archons, others here, Stalkers, to kind of generate more pressure. I think if he gets this base just up here, this is huge. I mean, the Baneling's nest is there. There's an Evo chamber as well. We see Zerg trying to escape and expand away from where the Terran army is, in towards the top left.
I'm not sure Solar is going to be able to muster an army that can stop this push. There are still no Vipers underway. He's making more Banelings and Ravagers, and while those are good units, the Archon count right now, I think it might be even going up to 9. We had a couple more there in production. They've had enough time between the last battle and now to regenerate the majority of their shields, so they're going to be very tanky. I think Creator knows that right now is the time. He has the perfect arc set up towards that 5th base.
Yeah,
DTs and Zealots coming in. No detection right here for now.
Yeah, I think he's about to break Solar. If Solar can't get some good footing here, I don't know that he ever will. The DTs continue to kill those Queens. Banelings are going to come down here and connect onto these probes. So hold up a second. There's going to be a lot of workers killed off here, almost all of them. Well, actually, he gets a decent amount away.
Not too many going down. 13 in total. These
was
Stalkers.
That the Baneling's nest he killed?
Oh, I'm not sure actually what was destroyed.
Yeah.
That would be cute. Why was the Baneling nest there?
No, because I remember when I was looking at that base earlier, I saw an Evo and a Baneling's nest, and I thought, well, that'd be a good spot to break into.
He's rebuilding it. You're absolutely right. What a crazy spot to make the Baneling nest. So Solar is going to try and go for the fight right now. Archon spread is very good here for Creator.
Look at the patience. He knows that, the only way that you can try to force win this would be with Baneling, so he just keeps the Archons kind of spread out.
Yeah, a bit of a misstep there, though. Losing a couple of very key units. There's just so much action all over the map that it's hard for both these players to stay on top of it, and now's the time, I think, Tasteless. Look at all of these Archons. 10 Archons moving in on this base. Solar's just going to forfeit it.
But, Creator is barely mining. He's really hurting. Gosh, I guess actually, Solar's barely mining as well. He drops this base. I mean, I think the next march would be up towards the rally point here that we're looking at right now.
Archon's pushing forward.
Oh, even killing some stuff hatching from the eggs down there at the base. Banelings are being remade. There's nothing mining here. This is not even really a base. It's Creator limping through this game on 3 bases. I actually think Solar might still have a shot.
That Sentry can be really clutch with force fields. Instead, goes for the Guardian Shields right now, and Solar caught off creep.
Morphine Banes are just going to get executed. Oh my God, he's going to spill up here to the top. He's got to be careful. His army's getting a little bit disjointed.
Yeah, but this might lead up to a great spread with these Archons. Their T-Rex arms coming in from both sides, getting big connections onto the Roaches and the Ravagers. A fantastic micro with the Colossus on the Warp Prism. It is not falling, but look at the supplies right now. I think Creator might have done it.
I think he just did it. I think he's got it.
The army supply 70 for Creator, 50 for Solar, and this army is not going to get beat by any reinforcements. And Creator, in an absolutely insane PvZ, I think has barely thread the needle. Two very different macro games, but he's able to come through in the clutch. And what a banger of a start to Season 3 of Code S.
That was crazy. This is already an insane season. We're going to have Scarlett versus Creator for the winners match of Group A. What?
Yeah, I think both underdogs emerging victorious here. And I got to say, both series, superb. These were some excellent games. The new maps absolutely delivering.
Yeah.
These players brought their A game too. Hard fought tooth and nail there from Solar, but Creator just playing out of his mind. I think this is the best that we've seen him play PvZ in a long time. He was making soul read after soul read. He just had the key intuition to come through and get a win.
This has been so crazy. All right, guys, up next, we decide who advances to the next round of the GSL, either Creator or Scarlett.